Summer 2019. The good old days. Coming off the Raptors winning their first NBA title, one of the most exciting drafts with two future NBA superstars, Marvel was killing it with Avengers Endgame being the top movie of all time, and no thought of a worldwide pandemic. What a time to be alive. Now, 6 years later, Raptors have been stuck in mediocrity, Zion and Ja have been wildly disappointing, Marvel has been struggling to find a hint since Endgame, and I get nauseous thinking about wearing a face mask.
What the fuck is this?
But one city and franchise are pretty damn happy with how things have changed. That summer completely changed their trajectory and led them to the 2024 NBA title. That summer, the OKC Thunder made a trade that changed the NBA as we know it. What was the trade? And how did the Thunder go from that to NBA champs? Well, let's talk about it. Here's the trade. OKC sends Paul George to the LA Clippers, and in return, the Thunder receive Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round draft picks, and 2 first-round pick swaps. Just by the looks of that, you would think Paul George must have been the best player in the world. Well, he wasn't. He was really freaking good, though. Okay, let's give the Clippers a little break. They wanted to sign Kawhi Leonard, the guy who just ended the Warriors dynasty by leading the aforementioned Raptors to the title. But Kawhi said he would only sign with the Clippers if they brought in Paul George too, and to add even more urgency, Kawhi said he would sign with their rival the LA Lakers if they didn't get George. So the Clippers kinda had to do it, right? They hadn't been relevant since the Lob City era with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. They had a chance to get the reigning finals MVP and a top 20 player in the league. You have to make that trade. The only problem was Sam Presti and the OKC Thunder front office knew they had to make that trade. He knew he could get any and everything from the Clippers, and that he did. Now, before we get all hindsight is 2020 on this trade, here's the truth. People loved it. ESPN's insider Adrian Wojnarowski broke the story, as he always did, and had a nice write-up on it. The first 3 paragraphs of that story are nothing but praise for the Clippers getting Kawhi and George. Then, in the 4th paragraph, he finally mentions that the Thunder would receive point guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This after he mentioned all the draft picks they were to get. Damn near every team would have made this same deal. So I don't look at this trade as a terrible trade for the Clippers. They got 2 superstars. They got 2 California guys coming back home to bring new life to their team, and in order to do great things like that, you have to make some tough decisions. But sometimes even the best laid plans don't work out, and that's exactly what happened for the Clippers. Kawhi got hurt multiple times. Then they completely imploded during the bubble playoffs. The team is never able to come together. Now George is in Philadelphia, and the Clippers lost in the first round again. But this story isn't about the Clippers. It's about what the Thunder have done since this epic trade. 6 days after making this trade, the Thunder also traded franchise cornerstone Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets. In that trade, they got Chris Paul, 2 first-round picks, and 2 first-round pick swaps. Sam Presti's maneuvers in these 6 days led him and the Thunders to their first ever NBA title. But how? Well, step 1 was those 2 trades. Step 2 was getting Chris Paul with SGA. Chris Paul talked on a podcast about his time with OKC, and especially with SGA.
I mean this when I say it, and I try not to get emotional when I talk about Shai, man, because that was my first year living without my family, right? Without my wife and my kids in LA. And man, Shai, he's just a basketball head, right?
It can't go understated what Chris Paul did for that young Thunder group. He led them to the playoffs in the bubble and gave SGA the most important season of his career, both on and off the court. Without Chris Paul that season, there may never be the SGA we know today. Step 3 was to trade Chris Paul to the Suns and let the young kids play and figure it out. Some people call this tanking. I call it doing what's best for your team and your future. The young guys needed to play, and they needed to get more young guys in there to see what they could be. Step 4, draft the right players, and that they did. 2021, they drafted Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, and Aaron Wiggins. Wiggins, a rotation player in their title run, but Giddey, he got them Alex Caruso. As much as I like and believe in Giddey, what he does was not helpful to this team like Caruso is. Caruso is the old man on the team, the bench glue guy, and most importantly, a guy who had climbed the NBA title mountain before. He won a title in the bubble season with the Lakers, and his knowledge and experience can't be overstated for this season's team. But in 2022, this rebuild took its next step, and a giant one at that. That year, they drafted Chet Holmgren, 2nd overall, their own pick. Jalen Williams, 12th overall, the Clippers pick. Jalen Williams, 34th overall, their own pick. This is the draft that took their little rebuild, pumped it full of Red Bull, and hit the gas pedal. These three guys took the Thunder from a good story to, damn, they might be a dynasty type team. We all believed Chet was going to be awesome, but early injuries derailed him. But when healthy, he looks like a real beast of a player. And that's where Jalen Williams came in too. He held down the fort for the Thunder while Chet was out. He allowed Sam Presti the ability to see how good this team could be. He may not have played much during this playoff run, but you can't overlook what he did for this team. Then there's J-Dub, and God, I love this guy, full stop. He is probably my favorite non-Steph Curry player in the NBA. Nobody thought him at the 12th pick was going to turn into a third-team All-NBA selection in his third season. He is the perfect team player in this modern NBA. He guards, handles the ball, shoots, and doesn't make mistakes. Add in that he is absolutely hilarious and the best friend of your MVP in SGA. That may be the second best thing Presti did during this whole rebuild. Now, the fifth step, and this is the biggest, most consequential step, SGA turned into a dude. Now, I talk about this concept all the time. In order to win in the NBA, you need to have a top 10 to 12 guy on your team, a super duper star. A dude. I'll do a deep dive on this in a future video, but the last team to win a title without this level player was the 2004 Detroit Pistons. They didn't have one singular guy, but all 5 starters were top 50 players in the league that year. Shea this year has made himself that guy. When the Clippers threw him into that Paul George trade 6 years ago, nobody knew this was the guy in the trade. He just had the best individual season by a guard since Steph Curry's back-to-back MVPs, and before that, not since the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan. His hard work and his dedication made that trade and this team such an epic story. If he is just a regular guy, say 30th best player in the league, what just happened this year is not possible. And if we're being honest with ourselves, not many people saw him even getting to that level. Hell, Woj talked about the draft picks in his write-up on the trade before SGA. He has defied all the odds to get here and be the OKC dude. He's the guy that makes everything go. He's the guy who brings them home, and he's the guy that makes J-Dub arguably the best second option in the league. This storybook season was years in the making, down in the Sooner State. A lot of things had to break their way, but this was as homegrown a title as there could be. They traded for or drafted every single player on this roster but one. No hired guns, nobody forcing their way in. This was targeting the right players, getting them, then helping them all grow into the champions they are today. So, tip of the cap to Sam Presti and the whole Oklahoma City organization. There is another team out west looking for their version of the SGA trade to find their own dude. Check out my video on the Portland Trailblazers and how they are building something special up there in the Pacific Northwest. And if you like this video, make sure to click that thumbs up and the subscribe button. Also, turn on notifications so you know every time that we upload a video, because in the NBA, nothing ever stops, and we're going to have draft coverage coming very shortly, so stay tuned.